Hello, Rohit. Good afternoon and welcome.
Hey, Sanjeev. Hi, everyone. How's it going?
Doing well.
Hi.
Good. We'll give a couple of minutes. I think people are still joining in, and then we will get started.
I like that everyone is Zoom ready to go. Everyone's video is working. Audio seems to be working.
I'll have a few months to get really good at this.
Well, clearly, if we do a vote, I don't know about all of you, but it looks like Nick is the winner here. He's got soundproofing behind him. He's got the professional mics. Are we doing some podcasting on the side, Nick?
We do that here a lot at Cambridge. So it's part of our outreach to our advisors and part of our shift lately. I mean, we normally do like 50 events a year all around the nation to make it easy for people to meet with us. And you can't do that now with COVID. So
yeah,
we've gone hardcore in the video teleconferencing path to try to kind of augment, that relationship building and white touch, white glove treatment that we try to be known for.
Oh, that's great. We are definitely going to pick your brain as we get started here on that.
Yeah, that's a great topic. Yeah.
Yeah. And I might pick your brain personally because I just ordered, I don't know if you could see this, I just got my little professional mic set up that I have not set up yet. I might ask you for some tips based on what I see.
I've got an AV member of our team here to make sure that I don't try to screw something up as the CTO. So, but he might be able to quote you the hardware we need, or I can find out what we've been buying. Happy to share.
Well, I mean, to me, it's even basic. I got this mic. I thought I could just plug it in via USB and realized I probably need to read the manual because it's not working for me. So,
I think the one device that's been the most actively complimented by our associates and even advisors is, has anyone played around with the Owls? It's a desktop device, not unlike, Logitech have for video and audio, but it's pretty easy to recognize as an audio device or a camera device, and it will offer a 360-degree view on top of a speaker-oriented panel below as to one person or up to three. And what it gives the remote person is a sense of people in a room. So when we do have 3 or 4 people in a room, you drop that in the middle, it just looks like another camera and mic to your laptop.
Wow.
But it gives the remote person, like Amy Weber, our CEO, when she's traveling around, we'll drop it in the middle of the table during a board meeting. It gives her a sense of who's speaking, a little more a feel of the room as things are going on, and people love it. It's a very inexpensive compared to Logitech and some of the other more high-end systems you see in conference rooms. And it was a recommendation I picked up at a conference one time, and I was like, I'll buy one for the company. And now I think I have like 14 of them or something like that. So we use them a lot.
What's it called again?
Owl.
Owl?
I'm going to look that up right now.
Yeah, it's the only hokey thing if I gave them feedback is it has 2 light up, sensors at the top that help detect the people in the room. It looks like an owl. That's the only hokey thing about it. not as professional as I would like it to look, but for its cost point and the fact that, the thing is bulletproof, I'm not going to complain too bad.
Oh, I see it. You're right. That's funny. It's literally an owl with the 2 eyes in the speaker, I guess.
If you want to get a sense of its activities, I'd say go to YouTube and look for an owl demo. Like people use it at city halls and things like that, so that people that still want to have the interaction and get a feel for, the people all around the room, it does a better job than other more expensive devices, in my opinion.
That's great. Cool. I already got the ROI from this webinar, Nick.
Yeah. Sanjeev, we are clearly taking this webinar in a different direction, this roundtable. It's going to be about cool tech for wealth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I think, go ahead, Hunter.
It looks like we have the majority of participants have joined. I think we can get things kicked off. Before we do, I do want to say thank you for everybody for joining today, spending the next hour and a half with us. Great talking points. Thank you for those participants that shared what you would like to talk to as well. We will definitely get into that. This will be recorded today. And if you do have any questions and feel it's appropriate to jump in at that time, feel free to put the questions in the chat room and I will aggregate those and we'll make sure that we get them answered. So again, thank you everybody for joining. We look forward to the next hour and a half and a great event. Sanjeev.
Thank you, Hunter. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our conversation today. We want to keep it as informal as possible. So your participation, your questions are welcome at any point in time. Rohit and I are going to coordinate this conversation, but we also have an excellent panel of industry stalwarts here. So this conversation is about what's happening in the wealth tech space today. So we'll get started. To begin with, let me introduce myself. My name is Sanjeev Kumar. I am the CEO of Skience. We are a proud Salesforce partner. We offer a platform for the wealth management industry built completely on the Salesforce ecosystem. We have had the opportunity to work with some of you, and we obviously cherish that, and we continue doing that. And I also see a lot of names that I haven't seen before, so really looking forward to speaking with you. With that, let me pass it to Rohit and then the other panelists.
Thanks, Sanjeev. Sorry, I was going to say good morning, but good afternoon, everyone. Rohit Mana. I lead our financial services industry strategy team globally. Been at Salesforce 9 years, and just want to echo what Hunter and Sanjeev said, and that is, first, thank you for joining. Clearly, we're in a unique situation in the world right now. One thing that I think has afforded many of us is sessions like this, where we could still take advantage of things going on, either in the world, in tech, in a subvertical, in this case, wealth, and still brainstorm with each other. And I've been really surprised how platforms like Zoom and others have really facilitated it for us. So I think this will be a really healthy conversation. To Sanjeev's point, we have some ideas that we've come up with, but we're going to use those just to get the conversation going. And then it will be all about how all of you want to drive the next 90 minutes. So with that, maybe we just go around the screen here. So next to me is Lou. So Lou, you go next.
Yes, I'm the Chief Information Technology Officer for Glenmead Trust. We're principally domestic, headquartered in Philadelphia. I look forward to our time together. Who has particular questions around Glenmead?
Thanks, Lou. And Chuck, you look to be next.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chuck Toy. I'm the SVP for Strategy and Corporate Development at Ethic, a wealth bank. We're here in Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm really looking forward to sharing what we've learned. We are, full disclosure, both a Skience and Salesforce customer, and happy to talk more about how we've come to be and what we are doing.
Cool. Nick?
My name is Nick Graham. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for Cambridge Investment Research out of Fairfield, Iowa. Our company caters to the independent financial professional space. We have about 4,000 of those types of firms that we support, and I'll be with the company here probably 3 years this August.
Thanks, Nick. Sanjeev, we got you. Mariela?
I'm next. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mariela Arana. I'm the head of operations at technology for Insignia Securities. I've been with Insignia for a year now. We're a wealth management firm, mainly with clients in Latin America. We're based in Miami, Florida, and we also have offices in Montevideo, Uruguay. Thank you very much for having me today. Looking forward to learn what others are doing and sharing best practices.
Thank you. Mark?
Good afternoon, everyone. Mark Butler here. After a long career at Pershing and Albridge, I've been taking some time off the last few months and serving in a couple of different advisory and board roles. And look forward to the conversation today. Platform is really important, and look forward to hearing feedback from everyone as well as the solutions that are out there.
Great, thanks, Mark. I just see the next one as iPad 2. So who is iPad 2?
Hi, that would be me. My name is Eileen Strawn, and I am an SVP for Washington Trust Company in Rhode Island, and my title is Business Support and Strategy, and I oversee business development and as well as the operations function. And at Washington Trust, we are a large community bank, but one of our strongest divisions is the wealth division, and that's the division that I'm in. So I look forward to hearing what's going on today from everyone else and just kind of connecting with this group. So I look forward to it. And the reason why you see iPad 2 is that through our technology, our work technology, we are not able to get on Zoom. So this is my iPad, and don't even ask how I got on, but it figured it out and I'm on. So
good time for a new platform.
And I'm on, you know, a little makeshift situation here, but it's fine. I'm on my iPad. I've got my work stuff. So if you see me looking in different directions, I'm just maybe responding to emails or whatever. But I'm looking forward to this afternoon. So thank you very much for having me.
That's great. Thanks, Eileen. And we're all living that, so we get it.
Yeah.
You've just patched it together. Thank you.
Exactly.
Sorry, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I think one of my colleagues is joining, if he hasn't joined already. Michael Eady, I believe, is on the line as well.
Okay, let me check. That's where I get a little confused with Zoom.
And I'm not sure, he also may have a different identification, because he's not gonna, I'm not sure, but
okay,
anyway.
We'll figure it out as we go.
Anyway,
that's part of the fun.
Absolutely, I'm gonna put myself back on mute so that there's no distracting background noise here. Thank you.
Great. Daniel, are you still there? I think we might, I saw him before, he might have dropped.
He seems to be on mute.
Sanjeev, I can't see my screen anymore in Zoom. Do you see who's next? I've somehow blank, it's gone blank for me.
After Daniel, it's Lou. We covered Lou, Mariela, Chuck, Ron.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm head of engineering for TD Bank's wealth management platform in US. So TD has a Canadian wealth management division, which is fairly large. US wealth management division is small. I was hired a couple of years ago to lead to digital transformation of wealth management. So it's been a lot of fun working very closely with Sanjeev's team to implement our new account onboarding process for wealth management. So yeah, looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you, Ron. Jamie?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Hansen. I'm a director of engineering at Principal Financial Group. Like Nick, we're also in Iowa. I support the technology that our broker-dealer, Principal Securities Inc. Uses, as well as our Principal Advisor Network. I was in our retirement division for 17 years, and I'm recently coming over to join the wealth side after just for the past couple months. So getting up to speed here. We are a Salesforce customer. We've also been talking to Sanjeev and his team about how Skience can help add value to our current platform and experience. So
thank you, Jamie. As soon as you said Iowa, I saw Nick sporting a smile. Tina?
Good afternoon. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of GCG Financial, and we're a part of the Alera Group, and Daniel Del Monte works with Alera Group. We have an RIA, and we also do a large insurance business with our wealth management, so we are a Skience customer as well. And we've been our own independent RIA for about 3.5 years and are growing our platform. And Alera Group is, maybe Daniel can add a few words about who Alera Group is.
Daniel?
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I'm back. Daniel Del Monte, marketing lead with Alera Group. GCG Financial is an Alera Group company. We are essentially the parent company of many other benefits firms, employee benefits, P&C, wealth management, individual insurance firms across the country. So we're helping GCG with their financial service cloud CRM, and also we work with our benefits CRMs and sales platform as well, Salesforce platform as well.
Thank you, Daniel. Stuart Cook.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stuart Cook. I'm at Valley Bank. I'm the Chief Digital Product Officer. We have a subsidiary, wholly owned subsidiary that's a RIA. We're thinking about how we can use digital platforms like Salesforce and others to kind of think and reframe how we target and go to market with some interesting wealth propositions. Yeah, happy to be here and looking forward to learning.
Thank you. Bart?
Hi, sorry, I was mute. It's Bart Partington here. I am a senior financial advisor with a firm called Martha's Vineyard Investment Advisors, LLC, which is a recently created RIA that's owned by a small local community bank, Martha's Vineyard Savings Bank, now Martha's Vineyard Bank. At any rate, we're recently onboarded with Salesforce, some other new technology providers that are integrated with it, like Ring Central, and we have a new accounting back platform that handles our financials called Orion. So a lot of new technology here, all to the benefit of the community and our clients. So I'm looking forward to just learning best practices, since it's a new we're new to the Salesforce group.
Thank you. Obadiah?
Hi, I'm Obadiah Wolford. I work at Neuberger Berman. I run wealth management technology and operations technology. On the wealth side, our assets are about 50 billion. We are a Salesforce customer. Last year, we brought in Stephanie Lucky from Citi, and she runs all of wealth management business at Neuberger Berman. Her coming in, we are revamping our business strategy on the wealth side, and alongside, obviously, we're looking at technology as well. And this is a great opportunity for me to see what you guys are doing on the Salesforce front and what I can learn from it and take it back. So looking forward to it.
Thank you. Stephen Holstein?
Hi, everyone. Steve Holstein. I'm the global head of business development at Gordon Brothers, which is a Boston-based company that helps other companies restack their capital structure, regardless of whether they're healthy, stressed, or distressed. I'm with the company 4 months, never expected to be working on a CRM program in my 4th month. Thought it was going to be the 2nd or 3rd year, but in these COVID-adjusted priorities, we're going full steam ahead. This is actually my 3rd Salesforce implementation. This one's going to be global and very dynamic. I can give rave reviews to Hunter Flynn as someone who's just a stellar business partner to get things going with. And I look forward to learning and helping and be a part of this community.
Thank you, Stephen. Kirsten?
Hi there, I'm Kirsten Lane. I lead marketing here at Skience.
Thank you. Behruz?
Hi, good afternoon. This is Behruz Heshmati. I head up the U.S. Wealth Management at TD Bank based in New York City. We are a Salesforce customer already and soon to be a Skience customer. So we definitely appreciate the invitation to share best practices and learn more about some of the capabilities of Skience that we've already seen multiple demos and demonstrations. So thank you, Sanjeev, for the invitation.
Thank you, Behruz. Michael?
Hey guys, sorry about this. Having a little technical issues. I'm toggling between my work computer on the right with those 2 screens and my personal computer on my left with that screen. Working in a financial institution, we all know the firewall challenges.
I think we lost you, Michael.
It's a Wi-Fi challenge, I think.
Yeah, we'll move to the next. Jamie Mendelson?
Hi, my name is Jamie. I'm an intern here at Salesforce, and it's very nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Chris? Chris Marianopoulos?
Yeah, hi, Sanjeev. It's Chris Marianopoulos. I'm with
Signature Estate and Investment Advisors, and we are currently evaluating a new CRM with Salesforce and Skience. So I hope to get a lot out of this roundtable to see if it can help us with our evaluation.
Thank you, Chris. Mark, only first name visible. Okay. Insignia Conference, I'm guessing that's Marcus.
Hey guys, correct. It's Marcus Castro here. I have about 6 different Zoom accounts that I jump in and out of. So this one came up as Insignia Conference. I work with Mariela Arana, and we're looking to implement Skience, Salesforce, and all the good stuff that comes with it. And I'm looking forward to all the stuff I can absorb from all of you guys and your implementations.
Thank you. Jacob?
Hopefully you can hear me. Jacob Matthews from TD Technology, looking after wealth technology.
Thank you, Jacob. Mahesh?
Hi, this is Mahesh Sahor. I'm a Chief Technology Officer at National Holdings Corporation. We provide brokerage and institutional advisory service to both retail and institutional clients.
Thank you, Mahesh. Abhijit?
Hello, everyone. This is Abhijit Dalvi. I'm Senior Vice President at Netexus Investment Managers. I manage all the application development and all the technology needs. We are current Salesforce a customer and also have worked with Sanjeev in the past. So glad to be here and to know more about this platform.
Thank you, Abhijit. Joe? Joe Sullivan? Susan?
Hi, everybody. This is Susan Hanna. I'm an account executive on Hunter's team here in New England. Many of you I know, so just listening in and learning myself. So thank you.
Just 2 more left. Greg Starr?
Thanks, Sanjeev. This is Greg Starr. I lead Skience's Salesforce services practice. And I'm looking forward to listening in and learning from you all.
Thank you, Greg. Eric?
Yes, hello. I'm the Chief Compliance Officer at Signature Estate Investment Advisors. I'm part of the team internally that looks at new technology solutions and works to implement them for our RIA and broker-dealer business, and excited to learn from all of you today.
Thank you, Eric. So that brings us to the end of the introductions. I guess I
Hey,
hope we
Sanjeev.
covered everyone. Yes.
Sanjeev, I'm ready to go. Sorry about that. Just it's Michael.
Go ahead,
meeting.
Michael.
I was having
Go.
some issues with my gateway.
Go ahead,
so
Michael.
I work for Washington Trust. We're a regional wealth management firm and bank located in Rhode Island. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing Support for the Wealth Management Division. What else can I say? We have some challenges as far as our data integration, and that's why I'm here to see what are some of the best practices and where we can go. We have a CRM system and we have a marketing system, but they don't talk to each other. So we have data sitting out in Excel files on a regular basis, and I have a big folder of list management, and I bet a whole lot of people know what that misery is like. Having little ponds of data here and there. You know.
That's a great topic that you bring up, Michael. We do want to talk about that. I think integrated CRM is one of the topics that we have that we intend to cover today. I also was reading, thanks to Mark Butler, who forwarded me this article, Financial Advisor magazine recently published, I think this was last week, that a survey of financial advisors showed that only 21% of the advisors in the US today say that the platform provided by the firm that they work for is integrated. So while there is about a 48-49% satisfaction rate with technology in a siloed fashion, only 21% of them are saying that integrated CRM, integrated platform is available for them to do their job. So that's a great topic, and we will absolutely cover that. So anyway, let me jump into the main agenda at this point. Thank you, all of you, for the introduction. I hope I covered everyone. There is a decent sized crowd here. If I missed anyone, please do speak up. So we do have the panelists. We have Nick Graham, Mark Butler, Rohit Manna obviously is my co-host, and we also have Chuck Toy and Mariela chiming in with their thoughts and experience here on a number of topics today. So let's get started with the state of business. Of course, the COVID-19 pandemic has thrown a lot of curveballs at both the wealth management industry as well as wealth tech. So Rohit, what are your thoughts on the state of the business as of now?
So really interesting. So this morning, I don't know, maybe it's about 8 a.m., I had a chat with an analyst firm that is just about to conduct a survey. So they're walking me through the survey and they were just looking to get feedback. And if anyone wants to participate, it's a pretty fascinating survey they're going to do. And they're going to reach out to clients, and then they're going to reach out to firms of all different sizes, from wires to BDs to IBDs to bank wealth lines of business to RIAs. They're trying to cover the full gamut. And what we were talking through there, Sanjeev, and I'll share this with everyone, was where we see the potential use for ecosystems in wealth. So if you see what's happening outside of wealth, whether it's in the retail industry or even in small business banking, if you look at any banks that have a small business division, I think for many years there's a big talk on ecosystems, meaning, you know, how do we service Sanjeev as an individual who has wealth, an individual who's a CEO of a business, an individual who has a full family, and service all of his needs. And we've seen a huge uptick with small business lines of business at banks really look to stand up an integrated platform. So not just integrated CRM for the banker, but an integrated platform for the small business owner. So when they log in, they not only can get a loan from the bank, but they could get help with product. They could get help with a back-end system around inventory management, around an accounting system, around just advice from the bank. And we were talking a lot about this morning on how does that bleed now into wealth? And, you know, I haven't heard that idea of ecosystems a ton in wealth, but that what's got me thinking a lot around what are the implications there. And if you look outside the US and G, especially in Asia, and you look at what platforms like WeChat have done, where they've gotten their mutual fund license and they could, you know, distribute structured products within that platform. You could do quoting from insurance. You could almost get a glimpse potentially of what would be use cases like that in the US, and does COVID only accelerate that? The reason why I say that was the other topic we spoke a lot about is the engagement that clients or prospects want, and how does that model change? Many of you probably have thought about, you know, how do you make a better web property for clients for quite some time. I think that's always been a hot topic in wealth. But how does that web property not just be where someone gets a statement or someone checks their balance or executes a trade, not like an e-commerce type platform, but where does someone log on and not only monitor maybe their goals or aspects of their planning process, but maybe it's about just, you know, communicating back with the advisor or asking a question to a product specialist and getting some immediate feedback. So you're not calling in or you're emailing, but you're just immediately, you know, getting some response back. So that was stuff that we spoke about this morning. So it's just incredibly top of mind, but it's things, honestly, I've been hearing in financial services and all the subverticals. So we could, like, I've heard those same concepts on the banking space, in the insurance space. We've heard it domestically and internationally. So those are immediate things to me, Sanjeev, but I'd be curious to get your take. I'm going to turn it back to you, and then we could probably take it to the audience here.
Sure.
You know, you're in a pretty unique lens where, you know, you're built on a platform, you service clients of various sizes, even on the insurance side, the bank side, the wealth side. What are kind of the hot items you're hearing?
That's a great point. Thank you for your thoughts on that, Rohit. And I think I would like to extend some of those to the wealth management industry. I think I see three clear trends, right? At the beginning of the year, before COVID hit us, even going back to the FSI conference that I think some of you were attending, there was a big theme around productivity and digital transformation. I mean, digital transformation at this point is such a cliched term, but still, it compared, in our industry, it's still relatively new, and there was so much talk about back office productivity, workflow automation, etc. And as COVID started hitting, we started noticing a focus on advisor productivity and advisor experience. I think I would like to go back to that whole integrated CRM, integrated platform concept for a minute. It was not so much about providing siloed financial planning, portfolio management, forms, signatures, custodial platforms, et cetera, et cetera. It was the ability of a firm to provide a single pane of glass, a one platform where information is captured ideally once and transferred across multiple applications, whether they're homegrown or product-based, across the landscape in such a way that the errors are minimized, time is saved, and appropriate information is shared and made visible in that single pane of glass. So advisor experience, advisor productivity was the second topic that we started noticing. And soon thereafter, advisor investor collaboration, I think, came to the forefront. I think right now there is a huge amount of focus on that advisor investor collaboration. You talked about it, not just the web presence, but the ability for the end clients, and in this case, investors, to come in and not just transact, but also interact, collaborate with the advisors or other staff members within the firm, ask a question, get the response, get information about their portfolio across multiple products at the same, in one application, et cetera. I think that those are the three trends that we have seen till date in the last 6 months. Would anyone like to add to that?
I can maybe chime in. Sanjeev, we just partnered with Skience. We are currently Salesforce users, but we recently partnered with Skience to build the Insignio ecosystem. It's a term that we've been actually managing since last year. And the idea is just having this one centralized integrated platform with one single sign-on and give the advisors and the end client the tools they need within this centralized platform, right? Be able to use the data multiple times within this shell, right? And the way or the approach that we are following is we have 4 models of interactions or connections. Is basically the firm Insignio with the advisor. We have the independent model, right? Insignio with advisor, then the advisor with the end client. Insignio with Insignio, that means employees, right? Workflows for the employees, and also Insignio with the end client. So those are the 4, that's how we are driving this project. We just started, we had a demo right before this call with the Skience team, and they were showing us the different dashboards and how these different tools, financial planning tools, reporting, market data access, the idea is to have all these consolidated in this ecosystem. I'm very excited to start that project with Skience.
Thank you, Mariela. Anyone else with thoughts? I think we also had another question around the same topic. So let me open that up to the panelists as well. Where do you think, Mark, maybe you can chime in here. Where do you think the industry is headed? Because of, what do you think is the larger impact of the pandemic on wealth management as well as asset management companies?
Yeah, there's a number of impacts, but let me just hit on a couple of them. I think, good leadership is really put into focus during the pandemic. So, we're talking about how you're leading people, how you're leading advisors, you're putting people first, very important. Survival, I think, is another one. Before this call, I looked at the number of FINRA registered firms going back about 15 years. There were 5,100. Today, there's about 3,500. Wow. So, the number of firms in the space has gone down considerably. And so people need to think and are thinking about just plain survival. And then last, I think value proposition is really important. And I'll try and thread these together a little bit. a lot of the firms that haven't survived in the last 15 years have had a really hard time defining their value proposition. Either they've tried to be all things to all people and that hasn't gone well, or they just didn't really know their place in the wealth management space and what their specialty was, or their area of focus, the types of advisors they recruited, the types of investors that use their solution. And so value prop, I think, is really important. And I think for firms right now, and some of the ones I'm familiar with, they're rethinking their value proposition. They're using this as an opportunity to reinvent themselves. And I know we're going to talk more about platform, but value proposition ties directly into platform in a very significant way.
Thank you, Mark. Maybe since we talked a little, Nick, maybe do you have some thoughts on this specific topic before I ask the next question, which I think I want to point that to Chuck.
I do. I mean, I always like to look at the context of how COVID hit us in this year. When we exited 2019, every roundtable that all of us went to from a operations or a CIO event, the surveys and the guidance or the questions or the investments were all about the user experience. Everyone kind of dropped off a lot of other activity of investment and focused on that specifically. And then when COVID comes, it catches much of the market, in my opinion, not being ready to step up to the plate on that challenge. There's two things that I found to be available to us, at least from a Cambridge point of view, is many of the larger wirehouses, many of the third-party solutions, all were taking a new investment in themselves to be more viably integrated with a user experience as the guiding light to what their technology would offer, how data or services would be made available, how visibility to activity or progress of action would be seen in whatever value that they provided. Those were all the things that I was hearing as I would interview third-party advisors. Cambridge, back to the ecosystem statement, we don't have a fixed technology stack. My job is to find a multitude of solutions, provide an integrated system of service that allows them to be plugged in and played against whatever the profile of the advisor is. So I deal with trade-offs all the time, and I don't get the luxury of just focusing on one solution. Cambridge, pushes on that as much as we can as our value proposition. But in the user experience that we see hit by COVID, the relationship to their advisor and dealing in a more personal fashion in the Zoom session is something that I think is guiding us.
I had a rope tied around me. My friend also did. The essay would be on the boat. So everyone, no one was on the boat.
I think
there's no way to figure out where that's coming from, right? Yeah.
Right.
Maybe if you're not speaking,
can you please mute yourselves? Thank you.
But back to the statement of what I've seen, our advisors, we've run a lot of surveys as COVID has hit because we changed our profile. We are a company that is very much a white glove, lots of touches on our advisors and a lot of supportive activity. And when we all went to a work from home status, that challenged our relationship with our advisors. So as we've surveyed them, we see a big trend, and that is they are newly acquainted with what's required of them to have a relationship with their end client. And with that comes an expectation of all of their tools, every event and activity that they perform on behalf of their client also must carry that level of visibility. So having any kind of lag or a multiple source type challenge to be able to acquire, knowledge required by the end client, not acceptable. So our mandate from our community of advisors is deliver that integrated, visible, real-time view of what's going on in the business so that they are empowered to be able to service their clients when they're face-to-face in a Zoom session or some other audio-visual challenge. And we've been doing pretty well, and we have many investments underway to be able to deliver on that. But when I talk to my other, peer groups and my competitors, that's what they're trying to achieve. Every new decision they make on technology today is about accompanying a visual activity to what they do with their end client. And that is something that Cambridge definitely is seeing as the trend due to the COVID response right now.
Thank you, Nick. I couldn't agree more with those points. We talked about something twice. Rohit talked about client experience. I also mentioned it a little bit. Chuck, what do you think are the changes that you've seen in investor expectations because of this thing? I mean, Nick talked about how this industry is white glove between the firm and the advisor, but also between the advisor and the investor, right? And obviously, with so much of change and no in-person conversations anymore, what have you seen? What has changed?
Sure. So I will say it falls into two big categories. It's a little bit luck and a little bit planning. We had been fortunate that we had done, we're a small, basically community bank with an RIA. So we have a federal lending charter and an RIA investment management business that we basically stood up last year. And the whole point of our existence is to create relationships with people and grow our business through that relationship model. So we had done, the planning was around creating some guiding principles for how the whole firm operates. People use a variety of different terms, value proposition, mission statements, goals, whatever you think about it. We wanted to have a litmus test for when we make this decision, is it going to help us achieve the next goal or the next guiding principle and stay in bounds with what we think is right and true to serve clients? Because really for us, everything starts there. So what I think changed for us was that attitude that we had that client view of the world first. If we weren't doing something that was improving their interaction with us, our ability to interact with them, our ability to hire, train, recruit people that could take good care of clients, and as a guiding principle, we had to evaluate whether that was a decision worth taking. I forget who said it before, but sometimes you have to say no to things. Maybe it was Mark Butler who said, you can't be all things to all people, and you have to be really transparent with people about what you do. I think that's accelerated for us in terms of clients. Clients know we're a small firm. We're not going to be able to go do very complicated, large transactions, but we can do really small and complex individual things very well. So we got, we were good there because we had planned around our guiding principles and what that it meant for technology, how we're going to hire, how we're going to service people, and how we're going to treat each other internally. We got lucky in that we had started moving to more online systems last year. So we had just switched to things like Office 365, coming off a really old, not even going to say the year of the Microsoft system that we were on before that. So I'm chuckling and everybody's having challenges because we were going through that as a bank. And one of the things we advocated for early between myself and our new CTO was that we need to get a more modern platform just to day-to-day operations of the people. And so just moving something simple like moving to Office 365, having teams for everybody to chat with each other was incredible. And the big one for me, this is it's an interesting story, so I'll try to talk to it in general terms, but I wanted to hire a person for part of our business that didn't live in Boston. And for people I work with, they couldn't get their heads around how that could be possible. How can you hire a person for this firm that's based in Boston when they don't live here? How's that going to work? Well, now look, we're all doing it. Yeah. And there's a little bit of just trying to build that momentum internally later.
Sounds familiar.
So to me, that was, when I look back on that conversation with my colleagues, how much that has changed in 6 months is incredible. And the way we think about hiring going forward has just opened up a whole new world to us. And the technology we need to make that work is what we have had the Skience and Salesforce people helping us focus on.
I wouldn't mind poking at that, Chuck, because I think that's a pretty important point, the mindset change that's like rapidly occurring. And you just nailed a key point. The model has always been about hire in where you have concentration of people, whether it's producers or home office staff. And it sounds like you broke through that and are embracing it and probably slowly changing mindsets internally. Have others done something similar to what Chuck has talked about, or has anyone been challenged to be able to pull that off?
I would offer our experience on that. We, for example, home office, Fairfield, Iowa, is the hub of our business, was mandated. I mean, that is our core, and we had almost 1,000 people here in this area. But as we had to move all of them to a work from home status, we began surveying the effect on the business, and we also took the time to survey our associates. Our organizational models led us to look at the impact as we got comfortable in the state we were in and how things began to perform. Everyone gave us kudos for how well we did it and how fast it moved. And then we started to see people, once comfortable, see a change in the cultural effect about how we service them as clients and how our associates felt that they were able to leverage the organization they were part in. There's a balance here. The idea that this has fundamentally changed the workplace, okay, that's indisputable, all right? I mean, everyone's going to be looking at this differently. But there's an element about what your corporate culture is that you have to recognize and be able to define. And sometimes it's about being able to interact with others. So we've now moved back to almost a 50% rotational model here just to create the cycle of interaction that we were enjoying before COVID hit, to try to recover some of that synergy that the office place offered, because that's hard to do with some of the technologies that are out there. Zoom's great, but team activity and dynamic behavior of hot phone calls and handoffs, or people that are mentoring younger associates and handling escalations, that's not easily performed in the video teleconferencing solutions that are existing today. And the office environment supplants that. So we've tried to strike a balance, and we're still trying to learn through that. But I've seen companies go, hey, we're just going to work from home altogether. And as it eroded into their ability to service, it's affected them. And now they're trying to go the other way. I would tell everyone, learn the lesson of balance if you can, as to how it affects your business.
What capacity you're running in the office right now, Nick?
Right now, we're a little over 50%. So I've got, or I'd say closer to 60% at this point. We have an essentials crowd that always stays here. That's about 50 people out of 940. And then of that remaining 900, we have about 500 that are in some form of a rotation due to office limitations and our interpretations of the medical guidance that's out there about separation and distancing that we have.
That's great.
That's a great example. Sorry, go. I was actually going to ask Mark and Rohit, because we see a lot of firms, not just one or two like we do. What have you seen other thought leading organizations do? How have they reacted? Any best practices that you've seen there?
Well, I was just going to follow on to what Nick was saying. There was a really good article which I can share with everyone that was in Harvard Business Review, published last weekend, which talked about that balance. And it talked about, the successes of people working from home, but also the things that you miss in an office environment, the drive-bys to someone's office or their queue, the interactions that happen over a lunch, the interactions that might happen in a one-on-one meeting. And so they talked about, what I took from it was, hey, don't let the pendulum swing too far, because you could be missing some of these things. And I think, as those of you who have been in the technology world for some time know, there's a lot of companies in technology that have operated just about completely virtual for a long time, and they do miss some of those things. So Nick, I thought your points were really well taken. Sanjeev, just back to your question, I think, like I said before, I think a lot of organizations are rethinking with a mind towards reinventing themselves. I think value proposition, as I mentioned, is really important. But that really manifests itself into the platform, which is a big part of this discussion. And we talked about the integration needs of advisors, which those of you that have been around, that that has always been an issue. Advisors have always complained about a lack of integration. And so the opportunity to have a platform that's integrated, much like Mariella talked about, and have your value proposition, not the value proposition of, a managed account provider or some other provider in the industry, I think is really important. And I'll just lastly leave everyone with this. I wrote an article earlier this year about trends I saw in 2020. And one of the things that I saw towards the end of 18 and into 19 was the use of Salesforce as a platform in wealth management. It being configurable, has a lot of things that come out of the box. And so, that was something that I talked about then, and it's even more relevant now. If you really want to perpetuate your value proposition, you need a platform that can do that.
Sorry, Rohit. I know that I requested your inputs as well. That's
please.
a great segue into the next topic. I'm trying to keep an eye on the clock as well. There were some specific topics that had been requested by the audience, and I want to make sure that we cover those as well. So what you mentioned, Mark, is a great segue to one of the topics, which is there are people on this call that are in the process of assessing and evaluating a CRM solution. And associated technology for their respective firms. So the question was, is there any information that some of you can share as to what the industry best practices are, what future technologies that they should be looking at while they're evaluating and considering the options there? So that's the topic that maybe we can spend a few minutes on. And also, I know that some of you, especially Nick, you, Chuck, you as well, TD folks, you have recently, and Mariela, you as well, you spent a lot of time in the recent months evaluating different options. So any thoughts, any guidance that you can provide?
I'll jump in on that one. If you look at some of the comments we've already shared around classic integration problems, data is always the challenge, right? The format of data, the management of data, different repositories of data. And we viewed our investment in what we're doing with Skience and Salesforce as a way to reconcile a history of independent siloed data management. I would give advice to everyone. If you do not have a data governance committee and aren't working on some view of your own managed data model for your company, you need to start. Because you need to make early decisions and investments in yourself about how you want to handle and control information like that, because it's unintended or future use in some integration or some ecosystem play that you're going to do, or how you want to extract metrics or look at business intelligence evaluations out of that data require you to have consistency. And one of the things that I'm getting out of my Salesforce implementation, and Skience is helping me, because they've also recommended that I employ MuleSoft, which gives me fast integrations around legacy systems that I immediately have Skience integrating for me, gives me access to all of that information in a homogenized way that highlights where my data inconsistencies and challenges of quality of information are for what my advisors often complain about. Hey, I get different numbers from different sources, or I have gaps in what I see when I log into the custodian versus what I see in your systems. This solution is giving me the ability to finally pull apart that knot and come up with solutions to solve for those problems. And from a CRM standpoint, I use the CRM in ways that I'm not sure that Salesforce is even aware is possible, because we are using it to manage the nature of the hierarchies of the kinds of firms that come to us. We look at it to do profiling and personas for what they are and what solutions they're allowed to interact with. And that governs underneath that all of the data manipulation that I do across all these various types of financial professionals that I service. Without that tool, I would not be able to engage in this activity.
I would like to, go ahead, Chuck. Ladies first. No, just really quick. I would like to really highlight 2 points. I consider very important points that I would like that, they were part of the selection process when we started all this project. The first one was that we included and made every single business unit or head, right, within Insignia, part of the project. We had this discovery phase. We sat with each of them. We went through their pain points. We asked for a wish list. We tried to obtain as much detail in terms of systems are using, workflows, processes. There were, we spent hours with each of the business heads within the firm, and we came up with this document that we've used, right, for this project. So that was the first point. The second one was the factors that we reviewed or we considered when selecting the partner, right? The connectivity to our custodians was one of the main points that we review. Integration, how the dashboard was, customization in general, if they had already some type of relationship with some of our vendors, time to market. We were looking really to show value to our advisors as fast as we can, right? Because this is part of our value prop, and this is helping us a lot with recruiting purposes. So we were doing this in phases, but we're trying to kind of like show them the value of this platform in phase one, at least to keep them engaged, right? That's the idea. But those are the factors that we consider and review in this selection process. Top, your turn.
All I was going to say that data has attitude, always and forever. And a lot of you have known that I started my career as a data consultant, and so I've carried that chip on my shoulder everywhere I go. And it's often really easy to overlook the complexities when it comes to bringing two systems together. So one of the things for us about Salesforce that was really important in Skience as well is that we have a core banking system that it might as well be run by Flintstones, and a custodial system that's the core of our investment business. Those are two very different systems at very different stages of what I'll call sort of technology evolution. In my humble opinion, a lot more has gone into these custodial systems, even though they don't do everything. They're much more advanced in terms of what they can do generally out of the box than some of these core banking systems, at least the ones I've come across in my recent stint back in banking. So we had this two big monoliths to kind of stitch together, and Salesforce was really well cut out for that. So that functional capability was a big part of the evaluation process for us. And then Skience's ability to allow us to, make the reentry of data go away, but through account opening and things like that, simplifying, those kinds of things were very helpful for us. And the fact that we could also see, we had put our guiding principles together and said, we have a plan for what we need to accomplish today, but also we put a vector to it. So we said, a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, we want to be in a place that feels or looks like X, Y, and Z. And so we felt most confident that the combination of Salesforce and Skience would get us that vector, not just solving today's problems, but also the ones we could at least think about anticipating in the near future.
Hey, Stuart, not to put you in the spot, but I'd be curious to get your take to what Chuck just said, just thinking about your guys' business model of, full service bank, going through a huge transformation from rebranding to, everything has changed really over the last year. Yep. It's probably 2 years, right? How do you think of what Chuck just said of, you've got the DDA retail business, you've got the wealth business, how do you think of sharing data, the teams working together? How does that happen?
Yeah, if anyone's got answers on a postcard, please. I mean, from a North Star vision point of view, that's absolutely where we want to be. But you're right. So for those who don't know, $40 billion institution, sort of regional community bank. So an interesting prospect. My background is fintech for the last sort of 15 years, been with Valley just over a year. And we're looking at, a digital transformation is obviously a cultural transformation, but as Nick was making me smile about the sort of data governance and that kind of stuff, because it's a pretty blank piece of paper coming into a regional bank that has typically just taken COTS products off the shelf from FIS, Fiserv, sort of stitched it together and gone out and resold it. So we have a lot of assets in terms of the relationships that we have with our customers, but we need to leverage our data. We need to make sure that we're building propositions that kind of leverage digital to give us more reach. So to go beyond a kind of typical distribution model of face-to-face relationship and go into a kind of human-centered digital proposition. So, the way we're thinking about it is get the basics in place right now. And that's why I'm smiling, we just kicked off some of that governance stuff. We're kind of all in on Salesforce. We've just kicked off on MuleSoft. Part of our danger, I think, is having too many fronts open, because the bank wants to do a core transformation, core banking transformation as well. So, and I'm interested in where are the sort of pragmatic kind of wins that we can do in the, alongside that sort of transformation. So the interesting thing about some of this discussion, and we were talking about, is can I use the sort of environmental changes and what's happening in society to rethink the delivery model for some of these services? And is there a way that I can leverage the technology and the data to provide what feels like the same sort of service I might have got, over a dinner or face to face through some of these channels, and enable, a back office to scale and a delivery mechanism to provide a value prop. So that's one of the things we're looking at the moment. And our sort of idea here is, again, I can't remember who said it, is we can't be all things to all people. So we really want to think across if we think about wealth, I want to think about segments in wealth. So because that gives me a better chance of delivering a proposition that is all things to that segment, rather than trying to provide a wealth solution to everybody. And that's kind of our focus at the moment. So I think we feel like we've made the right technology choices, and now it's kind of mobilizing around that product discovery and reframing a proposition and iterating pretty quickly around all that while we put the building blocks in place.
Thank you. So let's move to the next question, which is, let's say we do have a well-built integrated CRM solution or a platform here, right? We all agree, I think, that the world is not going back to what it was 3-4 months ago. Even if we have a vaccine, I think the general consensus is that it's not going to be the same. So user adoption. In the past, advisors were a species that was very difficult to work with when it came to user adoption. You could invest a lot of money and get this great system out. Especially the top producers that use whatever Excel or Outlook or whatever, they were resistant to change their behavior. Do you see that changing, or has it already changed because of COVID? Or what best practices do you have that you think you can share to promote user adoption? And I also want to take advantage of some of the veterans in this audience, like Abhijit. You've been working with Salesforce and other CRM systems for a long time. So any kind of tips and tricks and advices?
I have a quick one.
Go ahead, Chuck.
We involve them in the process early and often, so they feel like they own this technology as well. It's not just me or CTO telling them, here you go, good luck. We want them to feel like they are part of this, so that it's theirs as well, because really we're building it for their benefit, their clients' benefit.
Yeah, I would agree. Basically, one of the things is everyone needs to get used to it. It's a changing time. It's a different a phase we are all in. So basically, getting them involved from the beginning, get the feedback, and that kind of improving from where we see kind of the pitfalls are, and then continuing in that path.
Thank you, Bijit. Lou, any thoughts? I know that you and I have talked about this topic in the past as well, including data, making sure that the information is made available at the right time to the right people, right systems, etc. And you dealt with CRM systems for a long time as well. Any best practices there, Lou? You are on mute.
Sorry about that delay. No, I think this team has covered a lot of it. I think just the concept of digital everything is the driver. And for Glenn Mead, we have about a 96% adoption. And for us, Salesforce is our digital servicing platform. So just to say that, you do say, integration, simplification, all the information you need is just a click away. And we too, and I didn't mention this earlier, I've worked with Sanjeev and team, and they helped us strategically cut over to the financial service cloud, which was a huge uplift for us. And I know this may not exactly be, hitting some of your points, but when we also think digital everything, we think of minimal customization. So in our prior version of Salesforce, we probably had a good 35% customized things we built. When we moved out to Financial Service Cloud, we were down to literally a couple hundred lines of code.
Wow.
I only mention that because when you're thinking agility, constant change, wherever you could customize and use as much out of the box declarative solutions, you get so much more agility. When we talk to our business partners, there's two things we talk about. One is we encourage them to reimagine what's possible from a digital perspective for our culture and our clients and our offerings over the next several years. And then we challenge ourselves from picking platforms and partners that allow us to architect for constant change. There's no static point of change in how we think about evolving for tomorrow. So they're it. Reimagine and constant change are our two principles. So I know that didn't exactly answer your question, but in the spirit of this broader conversation, that's kind of how we've been thinking about this.
No, thank you, Lou. Actually, that covered another question that was from the audience, which was about balancing configuration and customization. Keeping it simple, leveraging native features of Salesforce and any other product that you may have in your overall technology landscape versus heavily customizing. What are the benefits? What are the pros and cons of that was one of the questions. So anybody else wants to chime in and share their thoughts, please feel free to.
Well, there's one more aspect of this. I mean, I agree with all the forward-thinking elements, but what we do today here at Cambridge, because we have such a different category of different types of financial professionals, is you have a lot of data already. If you're doing any kind of digitization, you're collecting what they were to you versus what they are to you, later down the adoption scale. And if you're pulling any kind of metrics, business intelligence insights, how many NIGOs they have, how many service calls they make, how much retraining you're having to go do, we compile that. These are financial people. Show them data. Show up and say, you're less of a burden, you're more efficient, you're faster to the quality of execution that you desire because of the tools I've given you, the adoption you've made, the way you've interacted with the new system, or contrast them. Hey, someone just like you that is doing this much better because of the technology that you're choosing not to adopt. I just want to show you how much you're wasting in time or people or the challenges of execution that you have. Give them empirical data, collect it. And one of the exciting things I'm looking forward to out of the Salesforce implementation as we have a multi-year plan for how we're going to use that product, but it is laden with my ability to pull metric data out of the behavior of my own associates, but much more the case of how we deal with our financial professionals. Because I want to be able to slide that report across the table and say, you're this much better to work with because of what you've adopted, or contrast them with someone to say, here's the way I view you in terms of a challenging client, and here's the effect it has on your ability to execute in business, because you could prove it to them. It's not a subjective adoption argument at that point. And there's always someone else you can escalate to in their organization. I love that moment of, really, you think your best producer is that hot? Well, here's all the NIGO work that we do to, keep him from running off into the ditch. It's opportunities to be able to educate them about how their business is going with real empirical data that helps you also prod them into more of an aggressive posture on adoption. I think it helps a lot.
Thank you, Nick. Kind of an extension of that are the last couple of questions. And I'll open it up to everyone, including the non-panelists. What are the implications, in your opinion, of building a world-class, integrated, state-of-the-art CRM platform, obviously Salesforce, on recruiting advisors? That's obvious. People like Mariella, Nick, you can chime in on that specific topic, but also on investor satisfaction. If you have that end-to-end platform, let's say integrated, single pane of glass, all the information available, collaborative features available for advisors, back office, as well as investors. What do you think are the benefits of that in pre-COVID, or more so importantly, post-COVID world?
Sanjeev, it's Mark. I'll just add, I'll take the investor aspect and I'll personalize it for everyone on the call. I work with an advisor who has me logging into 3 different places to get access to, you know, the custodial accounts, the financial planning, the performance reporting. And personally, I'm thinking of making a switch to somewhere else because I don't have those same challenges with another platform that I use. So I think from an investor perspective, the expectations, I know this is part of an earlier question, the expectations are really high. And, you know, I think firms really need to think through what they're providing, not just to the advisors, but also to the investors. And, you know, the gaps in expectations between what firms provide and what investors want are still high, much like they are with advisors as it relates to integration. And I'll just add one more thing on that last topic about training with advisors and adoption. If any of the firms on the call really want to see a great case study in that, I think the folks at Cambridge, Nick and his team have done an awesome job. I know when I was at Albridge, their use of the platform far exceeded everyone else just because they had so many mechanisms for people to learn and adopt and understand the business value of using technology. So Nick, nice job, you and the team.
Thank you.
Anyone else wants to share thoughts on both recruitment as well as investor satisfaction?
And Sanjay, this is Lou. I don't know if this is, I put it into the category of satisfaction. You know, in our case, because we have such a high adoption, like our wealth advisor logs into Salesforce and everything. We have gourmet chefs on staff for our clients when they were able to come into the office. But everything from dining services, knowing that client A is walking in the building and they're going to have lunch or dinner or breakfast, that entire workflow, dietary preferences, restrictions is all, you know, automated on the lowest end. But on the higher end, you know, our wealth advisors logging in Salesforce, you know, account opening, e-signature, digital notary, all the cases, all their assets, accounts, single sign-on from Salesforce right into the client portal. So they're digitally connected to the client. So when the client calls, they're sitting here with all that information at their fingertips. They have statements, tax documents, performance, and then they single click in and they're impersonating with the client what they're doing in the client portal to really seamlessly connects them to have that great experience. So we think and that's why we call Salesforce the digital servicing platform, because it's kind of mecca for how that advisor can get whatever they need on that call to service a client to simplify, you know, their experience and actually pick up a lot of cycles in the day because they're not swivel chairing across 3, 4, 5 different locations to get the information they need. So I hope that's somewhat relevant to this audience.
Well, Lou, I'd have a question there, because if you think of just a maturity curve, you could almost say you guys are at the utopia phase where you've got incredible adoption. You've truly done, you know, an integrated selling and servicing and marketing. It's like everything an advisor needs. Would there be, because I'm just looking at clock here, would you say along the journey over the years, were there a few key things that you did that really drove adoption, or the advisor said, oh my God, this is incredible. Like, I want to log into this every day? I think Mariella hinted at that earlier as they're thinking about their transformation. They're working with the field and they want to make sure they're doing drip releases where someone wants to keep coming back in. Are there any kind of like things you'd want to share with everyone to say, hey, here's like 2 or 3 incredible things to think about to drive adoption?
First of all, you know, we're not Mecca guys, right? So we have a lot of opportunities. There's a lot more work to be done, but we've made a lot of progress over the past several years. But far from an end state. You know, I think there's 2 or 3 things that really come top top of mind. You know, in my role as quote CIO, CTO, you know, there could be a propensity to want to kind of control the experience and the budgets and the allocations and this and that. So the first thing I really had to learn over the past, I'm going to say 5 to 7 years, is I had to really give up power, right? I had to really step back and look at the more macro things that are occurring and empower teams with the proper chair rails around them to get things done. So not only did I kind of step back a little bit, we formed multiple advisory teams that's co-managed or co-led between an IT manager and a business colleague or sponsor. They are literally ultimately responsible every week to prioritize, to identify gaps, opportunity, new functionality, client needs, servicing needs, etc. And that team working weekly releases about 350 sprints a year. And that just goes automatically. No other steering committees, no other oversight. It just happens, right? They're empowered to get it done working within the budget. But for the more epic stuff, the larger things, every month there is a steering committee of very senior people, you know, like president, COO, myself, head of businesses, that those advisory teams report in. What are they working on? What do they want to get done? Where do they need more money? Where do they need our decisions? And we make those time decisions right then and there. If there's even bigger decisions, every month there's a technology operating committee. CEO, president, COO, myself, heads of businesses, and we monitor the big stuff and we make decisions literally every month. So if there's anything I'd say that's helped us accelerate our change, we're now about 85% pure cloud. We deliver hundreds and hundreds of projects a year with a very small workforce. It's the governance and empowering your people who know their job, trust them, support them, and then put governance over that for checks and balances. I think for us, that has materially taken us from like here to like this over the past 4 years to a point, and I do really say this modestly, you know, Gartner, I've done presentations for them in the past, and they knew we were building this kind of model. It's a little bigger than what I just said. And they wrote a whole use case on it that we're publishing later this year because they think what we've been able to show them and how we've remodernized Glenmead over a period of time. This human factor, this organizational change, it's not the technology, guys. They're just the tools, right? And as a CTO, I'm kind of embarrassed to say it, but they're the tools. It's the governance and your culture and how you enable your workforce to drive change. When we really figured that out, we started to move mountains very quickly.
And I second that. If I may just continue on Lou's comment. Yes, the tools help. However, I think it's the leadership, the cultural, just keep things simple, right? Before joining Insignio, I was 10 years at a large warehouse. And to be honest, you know, the change, it's going to be 1 year next week. It's a totally different monster from how fast, how you get to see things firsthand. It's not like you in these large warehouses, you have like 50 people in one call, you get a follow-up call of the call, never gets implemented, never gets done. Here, of course, you can compare the size. It's a smaller firm. However, you have the right leadership that they know if it's gonna show if it's gonna be to improve something or show a value added to the FAs, they will just commit legal compliance. It's fast. I'm part of this recruiting process. I always, since I'm heading operations and technology, I meet with prospects. Usually these prospects are from large warehouses. And when I just start talking of these tools that we like DocuSign or electronic signature, I'm not gonna mention vendors, but electronic signature, just virtual, Zooms, these things are not sometimes allowed by these large warehouses. So just even talking about this platform and ecosystem that we don't have today because we're starting the project, just talking that we got the approval from the board to start, working on this ecosystem is just for when they listen to this is, oh my God, having a centralized place, all the tools in one single sign-on, this is really becoming a deciding factor for them when they're like looking to move. So I really see the impact that this integrated CRM or platform has on these prospects or leads, right? In our case, I'm talking about not the investor, the final client, but we have the independent model. So the advisor is our client, right? So yeah, I agree with you 100%, Lou.
Thank you.
So in the interest of time, given that we have about 9 minutes, I want to cover 2 or 3 questions. 2 of them came up during the session, and there's one that's still outstanding. So anyone, and I'll share my thoughts on this if needed, any good examples of how you have leveraged Salesforce to support, solve, and stay in compliance of the Reg BI requirements? Anyone wants to share anything there? And just from my perspective, Skience has both within our product and as an extension, we've supported our clients stay in compliance of Reg BI requirements. To begin with, the customer relationship summary document or the form CRS, we've enabled that to be sent out either electronically or manually directly from Salesforce. And the second thing is also in support of the care obligations, making sure that the information to justify things like product selection, et cetera, are captured right inside Salesforce. Plus any kind of a review workflow supporting that information is also implemented inside Salesforce. So some of our clients have been able to check those boxes off and stay in compliance with the new best interest regulation requirements. So just wanted to share that. And if anyone has any additional thoughts or experiences, please do feel free to share. There was one question specifically on this during the session. What processes do you have in place to enhance and clean data, given that there was so much of focus on quality of data? Anybody want to share any best practices?
I'll offer what we still have as a challenge ahead of us right now. It's not done by any stretch. We're just now adopting some of those governance oversights, but we have 97 inbound data sources, for example. And many of them, the historical approach that preceded me was ingest it and then work through the problems of any errors that you find. I'm taking a different approach. So we have a holding tank essentially for data when it comes in. We do a fast scan for what's valid, and then that is absorbed into our systems of service. Exceptions now have a workflow, and that workflow now goes back out to the agency that's provided me that data, be it my custodians with skeletal account issues, or if it's pricing sources for how we're doing asset valuation, or if it's paperwork, coming from some of our partners that are providing products that we actually leverage. Finding a way to have an abstraction layer that you can groom your data before it pollutes your core systems is very, very key. And it also gives you a way to build that integration layer that you want to have. Internally, there's also the logging event challenge. And so we've come up with a system of tagging data. We have an overlay database now that tags historical sources that I have to reference, and where we make corrections or we do whole scale corrections. We have ways to actually show an audit trail, so I can enhance the life of my auditor when he comes in and say, I can show you exactly where I changed it, why, and what state it was in when I found it. And that's a powerful tool to survive the scrutiny that they often bring to data specific questions.
Thank you, Nick. Any other best practices, thoughts?
I was going to say, just like Nick described, ours is sort of layered, right? So we try to have as many chances as we can to catch whatever looks wrong. And again, we're small enough where I can tell my advisors, if you see something doesn't look right, let me know. So they're, our eyes and ears on the ground with respect to their customer data, things like that. But then we try to trap things obviously before it gets there.
Thank you, Chuck.
We do 4 things, Sanjeev. So one is we have a data governance committee, right? We have a lot of committees. And we look at the MMI, the data maturity model integrated. It's like CMMI, but it's for the data side. So the governance, you have to have a governance. You don't have an organizational data governance team kind of just running projects, right? You need a framework. we have a lot of recons. So in the middle of the night, during the day, systems are just being reconned to making sure data harmony is where it needs to be. And then we have, I guess, like an ETL tool, but on steroids. So most of the business logic that transforms our data to different downstream systems, that business logic is housed in one system. So our trust accounting system goes into here, and then we massage, normalize, cleanse the data, and then we convert it to the end system's target state, and we move it down there. So we have one place to kind of go to move this. And then lastly is, and Sanjeev and I talked about, he's been a good partner supporting me with my business colleagues, is we try very hard, but we try not to move data into downstream systems unless there's material business value. So for example, in Salesforce, we have all the client demographics, but we have their account information and their portfolio balances. We don't have tax loss transactions or holdings. But if you want that data, it's in a different system. So why am I going to replicate it? So try to keep your data in the system of record of that data, because then all the editing rules, whether it's on the screen or in batch jobs, all those business rules are being applied. So you're not degrading your data by trying to load data down to another system that doesn't have all the business logic to protect it from its core system, and data gets compromised, right? So try to leave your data in its core system and then just reference it and pull it up to display it, but don't copy it and then have to maintain its integrity. So they're the four things, basically: governance, framework, the MMI, the ETL tool, and a lot of reconciliations. Are the things we look at.
Thank you, Lou. I do have one more question, but in the interest of time, Jamie Hansen, my request is that we will get back to you on this. Hunter and I will get the responses from the panelists and share the answer to your question. Given that we only have a couple of minutes, any closing thoughts, Rohit, other panelists?
I mean, just for me, thank you to everyone for taking the last 90 minutes, to being so open, sharing. I think this was a really interesting exploration into best practices, and just thanks everyone for doing this.
Thank you for hosting.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day-to-day work activities and spending 90 minutes with us. This was a great conversation, and hopefully we can do more of these. Thank you.
Good to see everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Nick.